Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. When it comes to found footage style films, people tend to fall into two camps. They either love them or hate them. For me personally, I love a good found footage film. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 10 found footage style horror and thriller films that I think are worth your time. The majority of movies on this list are well known and generally loved films, but there are some lesser known gems thrown in the mix too. To start off, I'd first like to give an honourable mention to two films that just simply need to be included when talking about found footage horror films. Can you guess what two films I'm talking about? The first honourable mention goes to, of course, the 1999 found footage classic, The Blair Witch Project. Just in case you've been living under a rock for the past 20 odd years, The Blair Witch Project follows three student filmmakers creating a documentary about the myth of the Blair Witch. This takes them to the small town of Burkittsville, where they get lost deep within the woodland that borders the town. To make matters worse, when night falls, they start getting stalked by someone or something. Like many others, this film was my introduction to the found footage subgenre, and let me tell you, it blew my little 10-year-old mind. I watched this film while staying at my cousin's house, who told me at the time that it was real footage, which they actually believed as well. And it wasn't just them. The whole way this film was marketed led audiences to believe that this was in fact real footage and the actors in the film were indeed missing persons. I mean, how amazing is that? You could never pull that off in this day and age. The 90s, they were something else. My second honourable mention goes to the 2007 modern horror phenomenon, Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity follows Katie and Micah, a couple who've just moved into their new home. When strange things start happening within their home, they decide to set up cameras to see what's going on, but they aren't prepared to see what is captured on the footage. When this film was released, it made massive waves in the horror community, and I feel like it really exploded the surveillance camera format of the found footage subgenre. I remember all of the buzz that surrounded the film, which was fueled mostly by the audience reaction footage that they released as part of the marketing. The best part was that Paranormal Activity actually delivered on the scare factor, and thus a franchise was born consisting of 7 films in the past 15 years. Again, this is a brilliant example of found footage done right, and it's seriously scary stuff. Before I move on, I also have to mention that these films absolutely killed it in the box office with an insane budget to box office ratio. So the Blair Witch Project had an estimated budget of $60,000 and grossed over $248 million worldwide. Similarly, Paranormal Activity had a mere budget of $15,000 and grossed over $193 million worldwide. This just blows my mind and is just a testament to how successful these films were. As far as I'm concerned, both of these films are iconic and synonymous with the term found footage. It just goes to show how successful this subgenre of film can be and why I think that it should be regarded as a respected form of filmmaking. And now, without any further ado, here are my list of 10 horror and thriller found footage style films that are worth your time. M.O.M, Mother of Monsters follows Abby, the single mother of a teenage son named Jacob. After she comes across increasing evidence that Jacob is plotting a school shooting, she begins spying on him by installing cameras in the house and recording her interactions with him. I don't remember how I happened across this film, but I was pleasantly surprised by what unfolded. I went into this film really with no expectations. I literally hear no one talking about this film, so naturally I expected the worst. But don't write this one off. It's actually quite impressive on what it delivers. The performances of the two main actors are so good. Melinda Page Hamilton playing a concerned and conflicted mother absolutely kills it. Opposite her, Bailey Edwards playing deranged and unhinged Jacob also does an amazing job. The film is well paced and super engaging the whole time, and wraps up with a pretty shocking ending. Mothers of Monsters is categorized as a thriller/drama, but it's incredibly dark and definitely straddles the line of horror. So tell me, what's scarier than living in a haunted house? The answer's gotta be living in a haunted house with clowns. House LLC is a mockumentary-style horror flick following the story of a Halloween haunted house tour gone wrong, resulting in the death of 15 tour-goers and staff. 5 years later, a documentary crew investigating what happened are given footage of the weeks leading up to the event. House LLC is a surprisingly effective supernatural horror film delivering some truly frightening scares and succeeds in keeping you on the edge of your seat throughout. I came across this recommendation from Sarah on the Possessed by Horror YouTube channel and I was not disappointed. Although admittedly it has a weaker ending, the journey getting there is just so much fun. This is a perfect film to watch in the Halloween season, and why not visit a haunt afterwards for an extra thrilling experience? Also, if you're afraid of clowns, this film will surely exacerbate this fear. When Aaron, a young videographer, responds to a Craigslist job listing for 8 hours of documentary filmmaking, the job opportunity leads him to a remote cabin where he gets more than he bargains for in his strange new client and subject, Joseph. Creep is chock-a-block full of awkward and cringeworthy moments and does an excellent job of building tension. It'll make you feel incredibly uncomfortable and will keep you on edge right until the very end. In addition to this, it manages to be incredibly funny in a really dark way, and Mark Duplass absolutely steals the show playing our resident creep, Joseph. With that being said, I also need to emphasize that this film is quite disturbing. Like, the ending in particular really got me the first time I watched it. But rest assured, for those who aren't a big fan of blood and gore and the like, don't let what I just said deter you from seeing it. There's actually not any blood and gore in this. It's just brilliant filmmaking. Who would have thought that a man wearing a dollar store wolf mask while gyrating his hips would cause such unease? Well, actually, if you put it that way, that is pretty sketchy. I actually have a full review on this one, so if you do want to hear more of my thoughts on this and the sequel, then I'll link a video above and in the description box. Cloverfield is a sci-fi horror film which has a special place in my heart. It's actually the first found footage horror film that I saw in a cinema, and at the time it gave me major motion sickness. And I know I'm not the only one. The film follows a group of friends traveling across New York City on foot to rescue one of their friends trapped in an apartment building during a monster attack of epic proportions. Similar to the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, Cloverfield had a lot of buzz surrounding it prior to its release due to some really effective hype marketing. There was so much mystery around the film and a lot of effort went into this marketing, such as the creation of an ARG or alternate reality game and individual MySpace accounts for each of the characters, which is definitely a relic of its time. I think this film is awesome. It's tense, super immersive, and incredibly well done. The CGI and special effects are super impressive for the time and scale of the film. When it comes to revealing the monster itself, it gives the viewer enough to feel satisfied, but leaves some room to their imagination. It's essential found footage horror, and I think it's safe to say at this point, it's a classic. The Taking of Deborah Logan follows the daily life of Deborah Logan, a woman struggling with Alzheimer's disease, being documented by a film crew as part of a thesis. Soon enough though, the film crew begin to realize something more sinister than typical dementia may be going on with Deborah. The Taking of Deborah Logan is a supernatural horror film which features some truly disturbing and frightening imagery. Jill Larson's portrayal of Deborah is so chilling. In some parts she's a sweet, cute older lady, and in other parts she's just soulless and demonic. Although there are parts that feel cheesy, the film is super unnerving and just plain creepy at times. It's definitely a good one to crack out at your next scary movie night. Chronicle is a sci-fi thriller following 3 teens who discover they have special abilities after being in contact with a mysterious crash site. Things start off light and fun, however soon one of the trio starts to harness his powers towards darkness and violence. Weirdly, I never see anyone talking about this film. I definitely feel like it's an underrated gem that deserves more love. What the film does really well is that it focuses on its characters, so you actually care about them and their fate. Dane DeHaan does an amazing job playing a kind of damaged, lonely character who we follow along with from his point of view as he documents the bullying and abuse he experiences in his day-to-day life. I totally bought into the premise, and the film is an absolute roller coaster ride. It's dark, emotional at times, and just super entertaining. It starts off fun in the beginning, and then it slowly starts to descend into darkness and chaos. It also features a pretty impressive final act. After his 16-year-old daughter goes missing, David takes matters into his own hands by scouring her laptop for clues. While he tries to track down where she might be, he unravels some hidden truths about his daughter. When I first watched this film, I was surprised with how much I liked this. Actually, I liked this so much that I watched it twice in a 24-hour period. From the outset, searching successfully hooks you in. It's an intelligent take on the found footage subgenre where the audience is taken along on the ride with the main protagonist, David, played brilliantly by John Cho. My experience with John Cho's work is primarily based in his comedic work, so it was really cool seeing him take on this much more darker, serious role, and he absolutely killed it. There's lots of twists and turns along the way, and the film will keep you guessing right up until the very end. The Medium is a mockumentary-style horror film set in Thailand. A film crew making a documentary on shamanism follows Nim, a shaman possessed by an ancient goddess. However, soon after filming commences, they notice Nim's niece Mink starting to exhibit unusual behavior. I randomly stumbled across this film when scrolling through Shudder one day, and I just thought I'd give it a go, and I'm so glad I did. To say that this film is insane is a massive understatement. What starts out as an interesting but mild examination into shamanism turns into something else entirely, and the lengths that it goes to is just wild. The filmmakers really went all out, and they weren't afraid to cross any lines or broach any taboo subjects. There were parts of this that felt very Paranormal Activity, but on steroids, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. You've been warned. Host follows the story of a group of 6 friends during COVID lockdown who hire a medium to hold a seance over Zoom. However, the session takes a sinister turn when they accidentally summon a demonic spirit. In 2020, the pandemic was at its peak, which caused the whole world to go on pause. During that time, however, a group of friends were busy creating one of the best found footage computer screen horror films we've seen to date. Where this film thrives is in its performances and the chemistry between the characters. It succeeds in creating an eerie atmosphere and absolutely delivers on the scares with some truly frightening moments. I absolutely love this film. I've seen it so many times at this point, and I just think it was so innovative in terms of how it was made. Also, before I move on from this one, I just want to mention Rob Savage's latest found footage horror film, Dashcam, which was created from the same team that made Host, and I've got a full review for that one and for Host as well, so I'll link those above and below as well. A television reporter and her cameraman are filming at a fire station in Barcelona during the night shift. When a call comes through requesting assistance at a nearby apartment building, they tag along to document the rescue. However, shortly after arriving, they end up getting locked inside the building with something terrifying. Wreck is a Spanish supernatural horror film with the tagline, "Experience Fear," which it completely lives up to. I actually watched the American remake Quarantine first before getting around to watching Wreck, and while they're both very similar, Wreck is far more superior in my opinion. First off, I love the premise of this film. While you're watching, it actually makes sense why they're continuing to film even when all this crazy stuff starts to happen, which I thought was really clever and can't be said for many other films in the found footage subgenre. So I really, really like that aspect. In addition to this, the film is super tense and keeps you at the edge of your seat the whole time. The horror aspects are spot on and super effective, and there are parts in this that are so scary. The ending is probably the creepiest part of the whole film, which in a horror film is so satisfying. It really has a brilliant payoff, and I just think it's a brilliant film. There you have it. There's my list of 10 horror and thriller films that I think are worth your time, with a few extra ones sprinkled in there for good measure. There's so many that I could talk about that I didn't mention in this video, so I think I'm gonna have to do a part 2 just so I feel like I've covered all bases. And then I'm sure there'll be a part 3 and a part 4, but we'll see how we go. Don't forget to let me know what your favorite horror or thriller found footage film is in the comments below. I love seeing your comments and getting your film recommendations. So I look forward to talking to you guys more there. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.